Are people being lied to about certain diets? Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ask Dr. Pickel show. All right, so today I want to go over a couple things. Number one, here recently I went to my gym, and at my gym they've got this big whiteboard on the wall, and they always ask a question, maybe like every couple of weeks, what's your favorite this, favorite that, and then they leave the marker on there so people can kind of fill in what their favorites. And this recent one was, what's your favorite food for building muscle? And everybody, all of the things were like chicken and steak and bacon. And it was all based on meat. And or some people will just write high protein. And at that point, I already knew there's a belief problem in this community here. And then on top of that, coincidentally, about a week later, a patient came into my office, a younger man, and he's wanting to bulk up, to gain some muscle. And in this process of trying to gain muscle, he's now feeling horrible. And I said, well, what's going on? What are you doing? And he goes, well, I started, the trainer told me I need to just do a really high protein, low carbohydrate diet. I need to be eating, meats and high protein just all day long, every day, along with my workout that's pretty rigorous. And then he said, also, there's a lot of personalities online I watch, like on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and even some podcasts, and they're all these big guys, and they're all saying, hey, eat high protein, low carb. And he goes, I'm just feeling horrible. He goes, I'm not really making any gains at all. In fact, I feel like I'm getting weaker, and I just barely have the energy to get through. And so this really sparked me to say, number one, what are you watching? I want to find out what some of these guys are saying and really what they're talking about. So I said, give me some names of some of these personalities online, because I'd like to kind of check them out and see what they're saying. And one of the main ones he gave me that he's been following is this Liver King. And so I started to look up this Liver King and see what he's all about. And, he's this big burly guy. He's, not burly, but just really jacked. His muscles are giant. And he's really promoting this high carbohydrate, high protein, low carbohydrate. He eats a lot of raw meats, just raw foods. He does a lot of things there, but it's really high protein, low carb, working out a lot. And supposedly that's how he has gotten this big and maintained it. There is a problem to that, though, and a problem with other similar personalities. Not that I'm just calling this problem out, but even this, I was looking even online, and this Joe Rogan has called him out, saying there's no way that this guy could get this way and maintain this without doing steroids. And I kind of agree on that it's really a problem. And I feel that this is a problem that if others, like this young man that's a patient of mine, are following these same recommendations, thinking they're going to look like this guy, but in reality, they're going to make their health worse. They are really going to go downhill fast because of the problem with these high protein, low carbohydrate diets and what they do to the endocrine system, the hormonal systems of the body. So let's go into that, because the thing is it's one thing for me to give my opinion on how I feel about these, but it's another thing to go over research that really tells what all of this is about. So, and we don't want just one research paper or a few research papers that we can pull a little bit of this, a little bit of that. No, we want a major research paper. We want what's called a meta-analysis. And there was one done recently here in 2020, and it is over high protein, low carbohydrate, and it's the effects of that on cortisol levels and testosterone, which I really like that they threw the cortisol levels in there. So basically what they did in the study said, okay, well, what really is high protein? And they defined it as anything over 35%. Now, this would be like a 175-pound man that's eating about 2,000 calories per day. And at that level, they're really eating about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. So anything above that would be considered high protein. Below that or that would be like medium protein, low protein. But again, this high protein, low carb. And then they said, okay, first of all, what's the effect on cortisol when you eat this way? Well, number one, let's talk about cortisol. Now, cortisol has many roles in the body, but one thing we know about cortisol is it is catabolic. And what does that mean? That means it breaks down muscle. Not a good thing if you're trying to bulk up and gain muscle. So this already is a starting point for a problem, knowing that cortisol is catabolic. And in the study, they found out especially the post-exercise catabolism or catabolic effect was really high. So yeah, you're trying to build muscle here, and you're actually working against yourself with this type of diet. Then what was the effect on testosterone? So with testosterone, first of all, you got to understand testosterone is what's called anabolic as opposed to catabolic. Anabolic. Testosterone helps to build muscle mass, bulk. So we want testosterone, of course, to be high, and we want cortisol to be low. With this study and a high protein, low carbohydrate diet, it's just the opposite. We've got high cortisol, and what happens to testosterone with this type of diet? It dumps. It actually drops low. Not good. Now, the thing is not only was it low on this type of diet, it was low pre-workout in what's called the resting state, but during the workout, and especially after the workout, it really dropped. So not good at all. If you are trying to build muscle, like I said, you don't want that type of an effect. So we're already going into this. Now, also, what does high cortisol do to the body? Well, it blocks other hormones in the body, which is not good either. It can disrupt blood sugar fluctuations. So put that on top of low testosterone. What's low testosterone do? It increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. It increases your risk of demise of your brain. It has all kinds of negative effects. So overall, with a high protein, low carbohydrate diet, you're increasing your risk of heart disease, diabetes type 2, many other chronic issues there and health problems. It's just altogether not a good practice, not a good thing. And this is a problem because if a lot of young men or women are doing these types of diets thinking that they're going to get certain gains or look like those personalities based on what they've been told by these personalities that are just, jacked, and they think, hey, this is my role model here, they're being lied to. That is an outright lie. They are telling people things that aren't going to happen, but the model that these personalities are using is, yeah, I'm doing all this, but behind the scenes, like Joe Rogan said, I think this guy is doing steroids. Yeah, I mean, it's a big possibility. I could see that still, because if you're on this type of diet, high protein, low carbohydrate, there's no way that you could get that way and maintain that type of muscle mass without steroids. It would be physically impossible. So we've got to look at this. Now, not to say everything wrong about the guy. I mean, in fact, there's a few things I liked about this Liver King. I like that he does promote getting back to nature. I like that he does like the eating more raw. He even refers people to Weston Price books, Pottinger Foundation, even the Blue Zones and the Hunzes. So, these things are great, and especially this research with Weston Price, which is really where I think he took a lot of his information that he's now selling and making millions with. But the thing is that research really says get rid of processed foods. And that is really the culprit of this whole thing. If people would get rid of processed foods, processed carbs especially, yeah, this is really what makes the change. I mean, and this is in comparison too, if you're doing high protein, then you probably got to do high carb too, but not processed carbs. Then you're, again, creating more problems. So it's just, again, getting back to this and don't cut out these berries. Don't cut out the ancient grains. Don't cut out these things that can make you healthy based on the research, based on the literature. And it's just true that if you're that jacked, if you're that muscular, it cannot happen on this type of diet. So the lesson for today is the high protein, carnivore, caveman, Atkins, whatever you want to call it, diet. I don't recommend them. And the main reason is because they're really messing with these hormonal systems. And a lot of people aren't realizing that, and they're suffering the detriments of that, thinking they're doing the right thing. And these are diets that are still being promoted today. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against meat. I like meat. I love a great steak. But again, I'm not going to these extremes of extreme protein, low carb. And it just doesn't really obey the laws of nature there, like they're suggesting, in these, when they're living these supposed lifestyles of natural. So eat more raw foods. That's the thing I can say, but not raw meat. I definitely would avoid that. And, basically just on testosterone today, if you go high protein, low carb, it's not going to work. It's that simple. All right. Hopefully everybody got some great information. God bless. And I'll see you on the next video, which is going to actually pop up here in a minute. So do watch that because I think you'll really like it. All right.